the strategy behind all of this is just to give you a little bit of background. The True Crime Network, as it is called today, as of only about a week and a half ago, was formerly known as Justice Network. We launched Justice Network in 2015. That was a tremendous success. The network's distribution, its revenue, its impressions have grown steadily, basically every quarter since launching in 2015. And last year in 2019, Tegna, which was one of our charter partners to launch Justice Network in 2015, decided to make an aggressive investment and acquire both us and our sister network, Quest, which our group manages together. And so what you can see here is, since we've been acquired by Tegna, we've been able to accomplish things that we always wanted to accomplish. We always had dreams of accomplishing when we were privately owned, but now can do and can take a little bit bigger of a swing because we're part of something bigger in Tegna. And so with the True Crime Network, we've done a couple things. On July 27th, we rebranded the Justice Network, which is a 24/7 broadcast that is an antenna, which does not look like your grandma's bunny ears. It is a flat panel. It brings in lots of crystal clear, crisp HD channels. You can get Justice Network, what was formerly called Justice Network, but now True Crime Network, 24/7, the linear channel. You can get that for free in 88% of the country. So odds are in your market, you can get it. But we've also added this True Crime Network streaming service, which is now live on basically every streaming platform that you can think of, Apple TV, Fire TV. It will be available on Roku in a matter of about a week or two. We're just working on final technical touches with that, as well as your mobile phone. And so that will allow people that either can't get the True Crime Network with a broadcast antenna, or have said, you know what, I like watching the linear feed as a lean back experience, but boy, I wish you had a lean in experience where I could choose my adventure, I can choose my show as consumers' tastes are starting to change with the Netflixes of the world and other streaming services. So now we have both. We have a lean back experience with the True Crime Network, or this lean forward experience where you can choose your own adventure with our app. So we're happy about that because it allows us to serve two audiences. Our initial audience, which obviously has gotten very used to us over 5 years, sitting on their couch and having this lean back experience, and potentially a new audience, newer viewers who kind of are trained in this world to only be able to choose their show.
So, and just to clarify, you don't need to have a cable contract or to sign in.
That is exactly right, and that's what makes us very unique. There are a few other true crime apps that you could download on your Fire Stick, but odds are you're either going to need a subscription, which you're going to pay $5 to $10 a month for, or you're going to need a cable login if you're logging into something like Discovery ID's app or Oxygen or A&E. You're not going to need that with ours, so you'll be able to watch it totally free, and that's what we hope will set us apart with the viewers.
So tell us a little bit about the monetization plans for the AVOD service, how you're going to go about it, and a little bit also about ad load and how that's different perhaps if it is from the other distribution platforms.
Yeah, great question. So it will be sold programmatically at first. So we are using Spot Exchange as a partner for monetization right now. Actually, for the first few weeks, you're going to start to only slowly begin to see ads. So you'll only see it on certain pieces of content, and there's going to be sort of a gradual ramp up in monetization. We want to make sure that first of all, the service is working well. We want to make sure we've gotten all the bugs out, which right now it appears that we have. We want to take it a little bit slow. And we want consumers to fall in love with the service. And so giving them a few weeks to sort of slowly ramp up ads, we think is responsible. Eventually, an in-house group within Tegna called Premion, which is a fabulous digital sales arm owned by Tegna, will be the principal sales representative for this inventory. But we want to make sure that the audience is there first before they are distracted from their existing budget and existing projects. We just want to make sure that this is delivering the size of audience we expect that it will. But Premion sells for a number of very marquee brands. And so we're hoping to add True Crime Network to that, likely later this year as we get to scale. In terms of your question on ad load, so we will have the same number of breaks that a show would have on our television network. So typically you're going to have roughly 4 or 5 breaks depending on the show. But the ad load will be a little bit smaller. So we'll do 1 to 2 minutes per ad break, and we will not have a pre-roll ad on the show. So you'll be at least able to watch the first segment, usually 7 or 8 minutes of a show, kind of get hooked into it, get hooked into the mystery before we hit you with an ad. And again, it will be only 1 or 2 minutes as opposed to commercial breaks, which could last substantially longer on the linear network.
And Brian, in terms of performance around AVOD, we hear a lot about that, about targeting and audience acquisition, and then of course the performance part of it. Lots of moving parts in that medium. Where does it stand, and what do you hope you can sort of tell your advertisers what the offering is, how deep you go in terms of targeting and performance?
No, very good question. So a couple things about that. The true crime audience skews, for whatever reason, I won't make any judgments about why this is the case, but the data shows that a relatively affluent, relatively educated female audience is what really loves true crime content. And the best thing about true crime content, which we have found in our 5 plus years of running what was the Justice Network and is now True Crime Network, is that the time spent viewing, meaning the length of time that somebody sticks through a show, is longer than any category other than live sports, because live sports you have to stick around to see the ending. And it's the same thing with true crime type shows. You really need to get to minute 58 to 60 to find out who did it, why did they do it, were they brought to justice, where does the case stand. And so you have this enormous passionate audience that really stays through ads because they feel like they can't leave. And so in a way, true crime, other than live sports, is potentially the most passionate audience that you really could find anywhere, and a very attractive one based on the demographics, especially for advertisers. So Tegna's investment was fairly large in our 2 networks. They acquired both of our networks for just shy of $100 million. That is publicly available knowledge. And that's a relatively impressive in what really is a startup. There's not too many people that work on our networks, but with that investment, I think Tegna is making it that a couple things will happen. One is that the growth of the over-the-air audience, that is those who use an antenna, is going to continue at the wildfire pace that it has been. And just to give you a sense of that, when we started the Justice Network in 2015, about 10% of the country was using an over-the-air antenna as their primary viewing source. Today, that number is just over 20%. Now, that may still seem very small, but that number has effectively meant that the audience for a network like ours, or our sister network Quest, or anything we would do in the future, has already doubled in the last 5 years. But to add on top of that, Nielsen also says that more than 35% of US homes have at least one antenna in their home, even if it means that it isn't their primary viewing source. So that is just over a third of homes have some access to these types of networks. So Tegna has made somewhat of an investment to say, you know what, the over-the-air platform can be a winner for us because we own signals in now 50 plus markets. Let's really embrace over-the-air television. Let's make sure we have the best product that's available. And there's been numerous efforts within the company to improve our signals and just make sure that the over-the-air experience is a really good one. And then separately, also that OTT, so right, we say OTA as an over-the-air and OTT as an over-the-top, will play also a growing and increasing role in the future of media consumption. Now, both of those together still pale in comparison to the enormous amount of revenue that Tegna generates and all broadcast groups generate from their own linear broadcast feeds and certainly from their cable subscription revenue. And we don't expect that to change for quite the long term. But in a way, this is Tegna's way of saying, you know what, we're going to invest in these other sectors that are growing at a very rapid rate in tandem.